Welcome back to our channel. Today, we bring you the incredible and inspiring life story of Chris Hemsworth, the man who went from a small-town boy in Australia to becoming one of Hollywood's biggest stars. Many of us know him as Thor, the mighty god of thunder from the Marvel movies. But his journey to success wasn't as easy as it looks. He wasn't born into fame or fortune. He had to struggle, work hard, and take risks to make his dreams come true. Chris Hemsworth's story is one of determination, resilience, and passion. From facing rejection in Hollywood to becoming an action superstar, his journey teaches us valuable life lessons about never giving up. How did a young boy from a small coastal town in Australia rise to become one of the most loved and respected actors in the world? Let's dive deep into the incredible success story of Chris Hemsworth. Chapter 1. A boy from Australia. Chris Hemsworth was born on August 11, 1983 in Melbourne, Australia. He was the middle child of three brothers. His older brother, Luke Hemsworth, and younger brother, Liam Hemsworth, would also go on to become famous actors. But back then, they were just three boys growing up in a loving, hard-working family. Chris's father, Craig Hemsworth, was a social worker, helping troubled children and families. His mother, Leonie, was an English teacher. They weren't rich, but they had enough to live a simple and happy life. Even though Chris was born in Melbourne, he didn't spend his entire childhood in the city. When he was young, his family moved to a remote part of Australia, deep in the Northern Territory, where there were vast open lands, wild animals, and a strong connection to nature. The town they lived in was called Bullman, and it had only a few hundred people. There were no big shopping malls, movie theaters, or even many modern comforts. Instead, Chris and his family lived in a community where people knew each other, worked hard, and lived close to nature. Chris spent much of his childhood surrounded by red deserts, crocodile-filled rivers, and endless blue skies. Life in the outback was tough but exciting. He and his brothers would spend their days running through the fields, swimming in the rivers, and learning to survive in nature. But life there also had challenges. The weather was extreme. Burning hot summers and freezing cold winters. There were also dangerous animals like snakes and wild crocodiles. Chris learned to be strong, fearless, and resourceful from a young age. Even though the town was small, Chris had big dreams. He loved watching movies, especially action films with strong heroes. He admired actors like Mel Gibson, Russell Crowe, and Hugh Jackman, all of whom were Australian actors who had made it big in Hollywood. He dreamed of one day becoming a movie star, but at that time, it felt almost impossible. No one in his town had ever gone to Hollywood. No one in his family was an actor. It was just a dream in his heart, something he thought about while running through the wild lands of Australia. When Chris was a little older, his family moved back to Melbourne so he and his brothers could get a better education. The big city was very different from the quiet outback. There were tall buildings, busy streets, and a faster way of life. Chris went to Heathmont College, where he started to discover his love for acting. At first, he wasn't sure what he wanted to do with his life. He loved sports, especially surfing, and for a while he thought about becoming a professional athlete. But something kept pulling him toward the world of movies and storytelling. Chris had a natural talent for performing, entertaining, and bringing characters to life. Even though he was shy at times, he loved being in school plays and drama classes. But acting wasn't an easy dream to chase. Australia didn't have as many opportunities as Hollywood. Becoming a movie star seemed like a distant fantasy. Still, Chris refused to give up. He knew that if he wanted to succeed, he had to work hard, stay focused, and take every chance he could get. This was just the beginning of his journey. Chapter 2. The Struggle to Become an Actor. After finishing school, Chris Hemsworth knew that acting was his true passion. But having a dream and making it come true were two very different things. Hollywood was thousands of miles away from Australia, and Chris had no connections in the movie industry. He wasn't born into a rich or famous family. If he wanted to become an actor, he had to work his way up from nothing. First steps in acting. Chris started by auditioning for small roles in Australian TV shows. But the competition was tough. Thousands of people wanted to be actors, and only a few got chosen. At first, he faced constant rejection. He would prepare for auditions, give his best performance, and still get rejected. No one believed in him yet. To survive, Chris took on odd jobs. He worked as a waiter, cleaned tables in restaurants, and even worked in a pharmacy stocking shelves. He also worked on construction sites, lifting heavy bricks and building houses under the hot sun. But no matter how hard things got, he never gave up on his dream. Finally, after many failed auditions, Chris got a small role in a TV series called Guinevere Jones in 2002. He played King Arthur, but it was just a minor role. Then, he got another small role in a show called Neighbours, one of Australia's longest-running TV dramas, but he only appeared for one episode. It wasn't enough to make him famous, but it was a start. Chris kept auditioning, hoping for a bigger break. The Big Opportunity, Home and Away. In 2004, after years of struggle, Chris finally got a big opportunity. He was cast in Home and Away, one of Australia's most popular TV shows. The role wasn't easy to get. Chris had to audition multiple times, competing with many other young actors. But in the end, he got the part of Kim Hyde, a high school student with a troubled past. This role changed everything. For the first time, Chris was on a show that millions of Australians watched. His character was popular, and he stayed on the show for 3 years, appearing in 171 episodes. People started recognizing him on the streets. He was no longer just a struggling actor, he was now a TV star. But Chris had bigger dreams. He didn't want to stay in Australia forever. His goal was Hollywood. Taking a risk, leaving everything behind. In 2007, after 3 years on Home and Away, Chris made a bold decision. He quit the show and decided to move to Hollywood. It was a huge risk. Many actors who left Australian TV shows never made it in Hollywood. Some returned home, unable to find work. Chris had no guarantee of success. He had no major Hollywood roles lined up. But he believed in himself. So with a few $100s in his pocket, Chris packed his bags and moved to Los Angeles. Struggles in Hollywood. When Chris arrived in Hollywood, he was just another unknown actor. He had no big-name agent, no powerful connections, and no easy way to get into movies. For months, he struggled to find work. He went to audition after audition, facing rejection after rejection. Some casting directors told him he was too big and muscular for certain roles. Others told him his Australian accent was too strong. Chris realized that Hollywood was brutal. No one cared about his success in Australia. He had to start all over again. At one point, he even considered giving up and going back to Australia. But then something unexpected happened. A surprise breakthrough. In 2009, Chris got his first Hollywood role, a small but important part in the movie Star Trek. He played George Kirk, the father of the main character, Captain Kirk. His role was short, only a few minutes at the beginning of the film, but it was powerful. In those few minutes, Chris delivered an emotional and heroic performance. Even though it wasn't a big role, Hollywood noticed him. People started asking, "Who is that guy?" It wasn't a life-changing moment yet, but it was a step in the right direction. Little did Chris know his biggest opportunity was just around the corner. Chapter 3. The Road to Becoming Thor. After his small role in Star Trek, Chris Hemsworth knew he had caught Hollywood's attention, but he was still far from being a star. He needed something bigger, a role that would make him unforgettable. The struggle for bigger roles. Even after Star Trek, Chris still had to fight for every role. Hollywood was filled with talented actors, and landing a lead role was nearly impossible for a newcomer. He auditioned for several movies but kept getting rejected. Casting directors told him he was too tall, too muscular, or too unknown. Others didn't believe he had the acting range for serious roles. At one point, he even lost a major role to another actor, his younger brother, Liam Hemsworth. Liam was also trying to make it in Hollywood, and when they both auditioned for the last song, 2010, Liam got the part instead. Though Chris was happy for his brother, he couldn't help but feel frustrated. He had been working so hard, yet true success still felt out of reach. Then, everything changed with one audition. The audition that changed his life. In 2010, Marvel Studios was searching for the perfect actor to play Thor, the powerful Norse god in the upcoming Thor movie. Chris knew this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He had the physique, the voice, and the presence for the role. But there was a problem. He wasn't even called for an audition at first. His younger brother Liam, however, made it to the final round of auditions. Chris was frustrated but didn't give up. He asked his agent to get him an audition no matter what. When he finally got a chance, Chris gave it everything he had. He knew this was his shot at stardom. But Marvel's casting team wasn't convinced at first. They liked his audition but weren't sure if he was the right fit. Then, fate stepped in. One of the film's producers saw Chris in Star Trek again and was impressed by his short but emotional performance. They decided to give him another chance. This time, Chris completely transformed himself for the role. He trained even harder, perfected his acting, and showed Marvel that he wasn't just a muscular guy. He was Thor. After months of uncertainty, Chris got the call. "You're going to be Thor." It was the moment he had been waiting for his entire life, transforming into a superhero. Chris was thrilled to land the role, but now came the hard part, becoming Thor. Marvel required him to gain even more muscle, as Thor was supposed to be larger than life. Chris trained relentlessly, lifting weights, eating massive meals, and pushing his body to the limit. His transformation was so extreme that when he showed up on set, the film's director, Kenneth Branagh, was shocked. He even joked that Chris was too big now and needed to lose some muscle. But Chris's hard work paid off. In 2011, Thor was released, and it was an instant hit. Audiences loved Chris's performance. His charm, humor, and powerful presence made him perfect for the role. Critics praised his acting, and overnight, he became a global superstar. It was the breakthrough he had been fighting for. But this was just the beginning. The world now knew Chris Hemsworth's name, but he still had a long journey ahead. Chapter 4. Becoming a Global Superstar. After Thor became a blockbuster hit in 2011, Chris Hemsworth's life completely changed. Just a few years earlier, he was struggling to get auditions. Now he was one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood. But with fame came new challenges. Handling overnight fame. Chris wasn't used to this level of attention. One moment, he was just a hard-working actor trying to land roles. The next, his face was on billboards, magazine covers, and movie posters all over the world. Fans recognized him everywhere. Paparazzi followed him constantly. At first, it was overwhelming. He had always been a private person, but now his life was being watched by millions. But Chris stayed grounded. He didn't let fame get to his head. Instead, he focused on his work and prepared for what was coming next. Something even bigger. Joining the Avengers. In 2012, Chris reprised his role as Thor in The Avengers, a film that brought together Marvel's biggest superheroes. The movie was a massive success, breaking box office records worldwide. Chris wasn't just playing a superhero anymore. He had become a key part of one of the biggest movie franchises in history. With each new Marvel film, his role grew bigger. He starred in Thor, The Dark World, 2013 Avengers, Age of Ultron 2015, Thor, Ragnarok 2017, Avengers, Infinity War 2018, Avengers, Endgame 2019. Each movie made billions of dollars, and Chris became one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood. But even as he reached new heights of success, he knew one thing. He didn't want to be known only as Thor. Proving himself beyond Marvel, Chris loved playing Thor, but he also wanted to prove that he could do more than just superhero movies. So he started taking on different roles. He played a fearless Formula One driver in Rush, 2013, a legendary hunter in The Huntsman, 2016, and a heroic soldier in 12 Strong, 2018. Then came Extraction, 2020, a high-energy action thriller that became one of Netflix's most-watched movies ever. This showed that Chris wasn't just a superhero. He was a true action star. But despite all this success, there was one thing that always mattered more to him than fame or money: his family. Family first. Even as his career skyrocketed, Chris never lost sight of what was most important: his wife Elsa Pataky and their 3 children. Unlike many Hollywood stars, he didn't want to live in Los Angeles. Instead, he moved back to Australia, choosing a peaceful life over the Hollywood spotlight. He believed in balance, working hard in movies but making sure to spend quality time with his family. It was this balance that kept him happy, humble, and motivated. Chris Hemsworth's journey from a small-town boy in Australia to one of the biggest stars in Hollywood is nothing short of inspiring. His story teaches us that success doesn't come overnight. It requires hard work, patience, and belief in yourself. And even when you reach the top, staying true to who you are is the most important thing of all. Chapter 5. Challenges, Setbacks, and Resilience. Success in Hollywood can be exciting, but it's not always easy. Even after becoming a global superstar, Chris Hemsworth faced challenges, setbacks, and personal struggles. But instead of giving up, he kept moving forward, proving that true strength isn't just about muscles, but about resilience and determination. Dealing with criticism and typecasting. After several Thor movies, some critics began saying that Chris was stuck playing the same character. People doubted whether he could succeed outside of Marvel. Hollywood often puts actors in a box, making it hard for them to get different roles. For Chris, the challenge was clear. He had to prove that he was more than just a superhero. So he took risks. Instead of relying only on action films, he explored different genres. He showed his comedic talent in Ghostbusters, 2016, played a dark and mysterious character in Bad Times at the El Royale, 2018, and even did voice acting in animated films. He refused to let anyone define his career for him, pushing his limits, the physical and mental toll. Chris is known for his impressive physique, but keeping up with the demands of action movies isn't easy. Every time he played Thor, he had to go through months of intense training, gaining huge amounts of muscle to match the superhero's look. This meant strict diets, exhausting workouts, and sometimes even injuries. The physical toll was immense, but the mental pressure was just as challenging. At times, Chris felt burned out, constantly moving from one film to another with little rest. He realized that while pushing his body was important for his career, his health and well-being mattered even more. His most personal challenge: health and future fears. In 2022, during the filming of his Disney Plus documentary series Limitless, Chris took a genetic test that revealed shocking news. He was at a higher risk of developing Alzheimer's disease later in life. This was a deeply personal moment for him. He had always trained his body to be strong, but now he had to think about his long-term health and what kind of future he wanted. Instead of letting fear take over, he made a decision. He would slow down, take more time with his family, and focus on what truly mattered. Chris announced that he would be taking a break from acting, prioritizing his well-being over work. This decision proved something important. Success isn't just about money or fame. It's about living a meaningful life. Staying grounded. Despite worldwide fame, even with all the money, fame, and success, Chris has remained one of the most humble and down-to-earth actors in Hollywood. He still surfs in the ocean near his home in Australia. He spends time with his kids, teaching them about nature and adventure. He supports charities and helps communities in need. Unlike many celebrities, he never let fame change who he was. His story reminds us that true success is not just about reaching the top, but about staying true to yourself once you get there. Chapter 6. Chris Hemsworth's Legacy and Future. Chris Hemsworth's journey is not just about becoming a Hollywood superstar. It's about overcoming challenges, staying humble, and constantly evolving. Even after achieving worldwide fame, he remains hungry for new experiences and dedicated to making a lasting impact. Let's take a look at his legacy, future plans, and the lessons we can learn from his life. Building a lasting legacy. Chris Hemsworth is not just an actor. He is an inspiration to millions. His career has influenced many people in different ways. Aspiring actors see him as proof that hard work and persistence can open doors in Hollywood. Fitness enthusiasts admire his dedication to training and pushing his body to its limits. Fans love him not just for his roles, but for his kindness, humility, and ability to connect with people. Beyond movies, he has built a strong brand that goes beyond just being Thor, a role model for fitness and health. Chris's incredible physical transformation for his movie roles inspired millions to take fitness seriously. But instead of just focusing on looks, he emphasizes overall health, mental strength, endurance, and balance. In 2019, he launched Center, a fitness and wellness app designed to help people live healthier lives. It provides workout programs used by Chris and his trainers, nutrition guides with healthy meals, mindfulness and meditation techniques for mental well-being. Unlike other celebrity fitness brands, Center isn't just about looking good, it's about feeling good too. Through this, Chris has influenced millions of people to live healthier, stronger lives. Exploring new challenges in film. While Chris is best known for action movies, he is constantly evolving as an actor. He doesn't want to be limited to just superhero roles. He wants to prove his versatility. That's why he has taken on diverse roles in recent years. In Extraction, 2020, he played a hardened mercenary in a gritty, intense action film. In Spiderhead, 2022, he explored a psychological thriller, playing a villainous scientist. In Furiosa, 2024, he stepped into the Mad Max universe, a completely new and challenging role. His goal? To keep surprising audiences and pushing himself as an actor. Chris doesn't just want to be remembered as Thor. He wants to leave behind a legacy of powerful performances in different genres, the importance of family and balance. Despite his fame, Chris has always prioritized his family over Hollywood life. He made a conscious decision to live in Australia, away from the distractions of Los Angeles. For him, success is not just about movies. It's about spending time with his wife, Elsa Pataki, and their children. Enjoying nature and surfing in Byron Bay, living a peaceful, balanced life instead of constantly chasing fame. In an industry where many actors get caught up in fame and stress, Chris proves that you can be successful without sacrificing what truly matters. What's next for Chris Hemsworth? Chris is far from finished. His career is still growing, and his future is filled with exciting possibilities. He will continue acting, but will be more selective about his roles. He wants to produce films, help him bring new and exciting stories to life. He will expand his wellness brand, helping more people live healthier lives. He plans to spend more time with his family and focus on personal growth. Unlike many actors who burn out or fade away, Chris is building a future that is meaningful, fulfilling, and inspiring. Final thoughts. The lessons we can learn from Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth's journey teaches us valuable life lessons. 1. Hard work beats luck. He didn't become famous overnight. He worked tirelessly, took risks, and never gave up. 2. Stay humble, no matter how big you become. Even with worldwide fame, he remains kind, down-to-earth, and family-oriented. 3. Keep challenging yourself. He constantly pushes his limits, whether in fitness, acting, or personal growth. 4. Success means balance. Money and fame mean nothing if you're unhappy. Chris prioritizes health, family, and happiness. 5. Never let fear hold you back. Whether it was moving to Hollywood or taking a break due to health concerns, he has always faced challenges with courage. Chris Hemsworth is more than just a movie star. He is an inspiration for anyone chasing their dreams. And with every new role, every new challenge, and every new step he takes, he continues to prove that true greatness comes from within. Conclusion. Chris Hemsworth's life story is about dreaming big, working hard, and staying true to yourself. He went from a small-town boy in Australia to one of the most famous actors in the world. But what truly makes him special is his humility, his resilience, and his commitment to living a meaningful life. His journey is far from over, and we can't wait to see what he does next. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. See you in the next video.